En esta presentación vamos a cubrir las preposiciones a, de, y en. In this presentation, we are going to cover the use of these three prepositions. Primero vamos a hablar de algunos usos de la preposición a. We're going to talk first about the preposition a, which is usually translated as, or can be translated as the word to, at, or in. And of course, it expresses direction toward a point in space or time. And we're going to show you some of its uses. Primero, to indicate the time of day. And this you learned way back in Spanish 101, very beginning of Spanish, when you learned about telling time. In inglés, we leave for Santiago at 3. En español, salimos para Santiago a las 3. So at, when you're talking about at in a particular time of the day, you say a las 3, at 1, a la 1, at 9, a las 9. Muy bien. It is also used after verbs of motion, when followed by an infinitive, a noun, and even sometimes a pronoun. Now this is kind of unusual, and we'll see an example here. In inglés, we're going dancing tonight, or we're going to go dancing tonight. En español, vamos a bailar esta noche. Let's take a look at this. We're going, vamos. It says we're going to dance, or we're going to go dancing, but vamos a bailar. The verb bailar means to dance. So it looks redundant to put a there, because if bailar already means to dance, why don't you just say vamos bailar? We're going to dance. Because the verb ir always takes the preposition a with it. Why? Because it is a verb of motion. And verbs of motion in Spanish always are followed by the preposition a, even when they're followed by a verb that contains the word to. Let's look at another example. Hemos venido a verte. We have come to see you. Well, the verb ver means to see. The word to is contained in there. So why would we have a if the word ver means to see? Why can't we just say hemos venido verte? Because the verb venir is a verb of motion, to come. So you have to put a with it even when you have a verb with it. So whenever you use the verb form of the verb venir, and here we have present perfect of the verb venir, hemos venido, we have come, you have to use the preposition a with it. So if you were saying, for example, I'm coming to see you, you would say vengo a verte. Vengo a verte. Or if you were going to say, I'm going to see you, voy a verte. You have to use a with verbs of motion. Muy bien. You also use the preposition a after the verbs empezar and comenzar, which both mean to begin, the verb aprender, to learn, and the verb enseñar. So whenever you use one of these four verbs, and you're going to use it in front of another verb, when there's an infinitive after it, you have to use the preposition. Vamos a mirar algunos ejemplos. Notice it says they began to ski. En español, ellos empezaron a esquiar. Well, once again, the verb esquiar means to ski. The word to is there. So why would you say a? It looks like you're saying they began to ski. Bueno, la razón en español, the verb empezar always takes the preposition a with it when it's used in front of another verb. So you have to say empezaron a esquiar. Now, a lot of times that a will be in front of another vowel, like it is here, and it almost loses its full value. But you say empezaron a esquiar, and it runs together, but the a is there. Vamos a mirar otros ejemplos, some other examples. Dice, no he aprendido a nadar. I have not learned to swim. Notice the verb aprender here takes a with it, even with another verb. No he aprendido a nadar. Okay, I will teach you to swim. Entonces te enseñaré a nadar. There's I will teach you. There is the verb to teach, has to take the preposition a with it. Te enseñaré a nadar. Even though the verb nadar in both of these cases means to swim, you have to have the preposition anyway. Now let me mention, there are a few more verbs that do this, but keep in mind if you're not learning them on a list right now, then most verbs do not take the preposition a with them. For example, the verb to want. When you say I want to do something, you never insert the word a after the word quiero. For example, if you would say I want to eat, you say quiero comer. You don't say quiero a comer. Or if you say I need to leave, you say necesito salir. You don't say necesito a salir. So actually, most verbs do not take the preposition a with them, but you do need to learn the ones that do. The verbs of motion will when they're followed by an infinitive, and then these 4 verbs will take a with them when they're followed by an infinitive. They're the only way to remember this. You just have to memorize which verbs take prepositions and which ones don't. ¿Ok? Muy bien, vamos a ver otros usos de la preposición a. The verb llegar also takes the preposition a many, many times. For example, ¿Cuándo llegaron ustedes a Bogotá? Notice the English. When did you arrive in Bogotá? When did you arrive in? Pero en español, it's not the word en, it's a. ¿Cuándo llegaron ustedes a Bogotá? Muy bien. And the next one, you always use the preposition a before a direct object noun that refers to a specific person. This is what we've learned in the past as the personal a, or the personal a, la a personal. When the direct object of a verb, in other words, is a person or a people group, you have to use the personal a. You also use it to personify an animal, and this happens very often with pets. Let's look at an example. Yo no conozco a tu familia. Notice in English, I don't know your family. There's no preposition. You don't say I don't know to your family or I don't know at your family. We don't put any kind of preposition there. But in Spanish, the expression familia, that is a direct object of the verb to know. Who do I know? Family. And family represents a person or people group. And so we have to put the personal a in front of that. Now the word your goes together with family. It's a determiner, or it's a possessive adjective, and the a has to go in front. Yo no conozco a tu familia. If I said the same sentence, I don't know Michael or Miguel, you would say yo no conozco a Miguel. If I said I don't know your husband, yo no conozco a tu esposo. Muy bien. So you always have to use a, whether it's a name of a person, even if it's a profession. For example, I don't know the lawyer. No conozco al abogado. Al abogado. So you have to use it for anything that could stand in as well for a person. Muy bien. Another example. I bathed my dog yesterday. Bañé a mi perro ayer. Now, perro, dog, is not a person, but very often we personify animals, especially pets, because they're kind of like part of the family, so they're people too, right? So we say in Spanish, bañé a mi perro. Muy bien. Cuidado, ojo, caution. The preposition a is not used in Spanish to say that one is at a certain location. And this happens a lot. Students use this a lot because what happens is once they learn the word a means at, when talking about time of the day, like at 3 o'clock, a las 3, they start using the word a for the word at, to be at a place. But in Spanish, you never do this. For example, I'm at the hospital. You say estoy en el hospital. You don't say estoy al hospital. So how do you say I'm at Walmart? Se dice estoy en Walmart. How do you say I'm at the park? Estoy en el parque. How do you say I'm at work? Estoy en el trabajo. So whenever you're at a place, it's never a en español. It's always the word en. And we're actually going to see this later when we cover the preposition en. Ok, algunos usos de la preposición de. Vamos a hablar de la palabra de. All right. Now, first of all, de means of, from, about, with, in. It can mean a lot of different things, used for possession, origin. Let's look at an example here. It's used to refer to a specific period of the day or night when telling time. And you once again learned this back when you were telling time. Yesterday we snorkeled until 5 in the afternoon. Notice in English we say 5 in the afternoon. Pero en español, ayer buceamos hasta las 5 de la tarde. That's how you say in the afternoon. We say de la tarde. How do you say in the morning? De la mañana. How do you say at night? De la noche. So when you're giving a specific time of the day, like we are here, 5 o'clock at night, then you say de. Now, if you're not telling the exact time, if you just said, I study in the afternoon, you would say estudio por la tarde. But as soon as you say the specific day, or the specific time of day, then you have to say de. Muy bien. We also use de after an expression of the superlative, and the superlative is the est ending of an adjective. And in English, it's very often used with the word in or out. Vamos a mirar un ejemplo. In inglés, dice Orlando is the nicest in the family. Like he's the nicest member. He's the nicest in the family. Or we may say of the family. But in español, you have to say de. Orlando es el más simpático de la familia. There's our superlative right there. El más simpático, nicest. Orlando es el más simpático de la familia. You wouldn't say en la familia, even though in English you might say en here. Muy bien. We also use it in some expressions when you're describing physical characteristics. In English, we typically use the word with here. Notice English says she is brunette with green eyes. But in Español, we say ella es morena de ojos verdes. You would not say con here. Ella es morena de ojos verdes, not con ojos verdes. Okay? Muy bien. De is also a synonym for the words sobre and acerca de, which both mean about. Okay? So, vamos a mirar un ejemplo. They were talking about everything except about sports. Hablaban de todo menos de deportes. Okay, hablaban de todo. They were speaking about everything menos de deportes, except about sports. Muy bien. Vamos a mirar algunos usos de la preposición en. When do we use the preposition en? To refer to a place at which one or a group is located. And I already mentioned this, but let's look at another example. They are at the golf course. We say están en el campo de golf. Once again, we don't use the word a here for at. We use en. Whenever you're telling a place at which one or a group or people are located, you always use en. Muy bien. It's also a synonym for the word sobre, which means on. She is sitting on the chair. Ella está sentada en la silla. If I wanted to say, for example, the papers are on the table, that could be, los papeles están en la mesa, or I could even say sobre la mesa, pero están en la mesa. So on, that one's pretty easy. We also use en generally when you're talking about a means of transportation. And here's an example. In English, I like to travel by car more than by plane. We don't use the Spanish word por, or the word that you may have learned by. We use the word en. Me gusta más viajar en coche que en avión. Me gusta más viajar en coche que en avión. So by plane, by car, we say en coche or en avión. Muy bien. Ojo, another caution. En is never used for on in front of the days of the week. Spanish uses the definite article in this case, and this is another mistake that's often made by students learning Spanish because we always say on in front of the weekday. For example, on Monday, on Tuesday, etc. For example, in English, I always run errands on Saturday. But in Espanol, you never use en in front of the days of the week. Notice how we say this in Spanish. Siempre hago diligencias, that's errands. Siempre hago diligencias los sábados. So you always use the definite article in front of the days of the week to say on. For example, if you were to say I go to church on Sundays, you would say voy a la iglesia los domingos. If you say I have class on Wednesdays, tengo clase el miércoles or los miércoles, but we never say en in front of the days of the week. Muy bien. Well, that's an explanation of the preposiciones a, de, y en, and I hope this helped you to understand when to use these prepositions more. Muchas gracias. Adiós.